Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I'm here today with the Urban Worm Bag. This is version 1 for an update, possible harvest. We'll have to see. My zipper's stuck. There we go. Alright, let's see. Whoa, a lot of climbers. A lot of climbers. Let me get this pulled back and I'll show you what we're looking at. So I was not expecting quite so many climbers because we did give them a relatively generous feeding last week. But let's take a look and see how they're doing with this feeding. Seems pretty darn good to me. Lovely worm ball here inside the banana. There's a lot of pot worms, it seems like. Whoop. Where did it go? All those white stringy things are pot worms, which makes me think perhaps we're a bit acidic. See a handful of beetles there coming through, but their numbers have been pretty good lately, so not worried about that so much. But check that out. All right, so let's see what else we got over here. Looks like that banana was the biggest hit. Not seeing a whole lot else, but let's look. Always get phone calls when I'm filming, sorry. Cut me off. But definitely looks like the banana was the favorite, but the worms are all throughout the top here. I'm also seeing a handful of fruit flies, but I've been battling them for a few weeks now. So I only have myself to blame for that. But all in all, this is really looking nice. Just trying to turn up the top couple of inches, see if there's anything else exciting going on. But it looks relatively boring, all considering, compared to that banana that we had there. Here's onion. The onions always take a while. Is this the other banana? Did we give 2 bananas? I don't remember. Piece of the rag that I have. And lots of worms here as well. It's just the back corner. Not expecting to see much back here, but yeah, all in all, looking really well. They will get another feeding today, and I think I'm going to grab a small harvest out of the bottom since we're relatively full. And we'll see how it compares to our first harvest, if we have some improvements this time around, and take it from there. Alright, so got this open, did have a little bit of trouble. I had to get a little bit of help and use a pair of pliers to get it broken free. The zipper just had some hard water that had kind of gotten it tight up here, so I used a little bit of hot water on a toothbrush, scrubbed it down, and then got somebody to give me some help. My boyfriend was able to get it open for me, so I'm just pulling this out. Same thing as with my Vermi bag harvest. It's really convenient because it gets so compacted you don't have to worry about anything falling out. You just pull out however much you want and the rest stays. Hard because of the light, but it's all still up here perfectly solid. I'm interested to see how the difference will be when we get the first harvest out of the new urban worm bag. but still, this works, and I think I'm just gonna not zip this all the way, or maybe even just put a safety pin or two to hold it shut so that I don't have to worry about the hard water building up, and it'll actually breathe even a little bit better. So you can always kind of work with things and play around, make it work for you. But I think this will be perfectly fine, but I definitely think the new design was well warranted, and I'm hoping it delivers. So let me pull this out into the other room with better lighting, wash my arm off, and we will take a little bit of a look at the quality of the compost we got from the harvest. Alright, so here's the finished compost. I can squeeze it together, but it does flake apart. It's maybe borderline too moist, but it's actually pretty good. I'm actually quite impressed. As expected, most of the worms that I'm seeing in here are primarily juvenile baby worms. They're just slower to move up, and really getting a completely worm-free harvest is virtually impossible. So I consider this to be a relatively good harvest, because there are worms, but there's not a lot of worms, and it's flaky. This could absolutely be put into a potting mix or into the garden straight from here. I'm not gonna sift it. I'll pick out a few of the babies that are in here and toss them back into the system, but primarily I'm just gonna dump this all into my big Rubbermaid that I use that stores my compost. Look at this, it was an avocado pit that they hollowed out, and the worms are just little babies in here. Pretty cool. And so then I'll just throw this into that container and, you know, get it to use and put it into the garden as soon as I can, or as soon as I need it. I could let this dry for a couple of days, mix it around, and then try to screen it if I want, but there's nothing that really needs to be screened in here. This is great compost. So let me hop up top. We will get the bin fed up, and then we will wait for another week. Alright, so I added a good bit of coconut coir. I'm just going to sprinkle my mix. Everything in here is looking good. Aside for the issues with the harvest panel, which we kind of expected, that's why they upgraded it. Everything seemed to go just as planned. Let me grab, here, I thought I had my food within reach, I guess not. I have two things that I want to give these guys. I have a bag with a banana in it. So just a whole banana. And I also have a large bag of orange peels and some asparagus tops. So, should have opened this ahead of time. I'm sorry. You guys get to take a look at my wall. Alright, so. You know, the citrus, the big no. I don't have problems with it, so they could prove me wrong, but in general they don't. This is still frozen. That's why the coconut coir layer is pretty important right now. But I'm just going to get a little sprinkling of all of this stuff, and I'm going to top it with a little bit of coffee. By little bit of coffee, I mean a whole fuzzy tin full. It also has tea bags. It's got a little bit of everything in it. So we'll mix this in, because coffee grounds, for some reason, even though they're very wet in here, tend to dry out rather quickly. So I'm just going to mix it around, so hopefully the moisture will be evenly distributed, and the fact that this bin, or bag rather, zips tight, hopefully the moisture released from the frozen food and all of this will hold in here, and the worms will move up to it. So that's going to be the update for this week. I know it was a little bit lengthy, guys, but let me know what you think. What do you think about our second harvest? Are you excited to see the difference between version 1 and version 2? Because I know I am. And I will be back with you guys real soon for another update.